Hello and welcome to Good Evening Britain, a Force for Good's weekly show coming to you live from our studios here in the heart of the great British city of Glasgow, with me, your host, Alistair McConnachie. We are broadcasting on all our digital platforms throughout the United Kingdom and across the world. We're bringing you quality pro-UK comment and analysis every Wednesday from 7 until 8 p.m. on Facebook, on YouTube, on X, and for the first half hour, we are also on TikTok. And then at the bottom of the hour, we're going to have our guest, a long-time friend of the show, Mr. Niall Fraser. And we're looking forward to speaking with Niall as we review 2025, and that's going to be the subject matter of the first few minutes of the show, as well as we review what we at A Force for Good have been up to this 2025, and another busy year for us. And by all accounts, it looks like 2026 will be even busier. So we've been keeping active, keeping busy, and for the benefit of everybody, we're just going to be running down some of the main highlights. Looking forward to doing that. Very much looking forward to doing that. And of course, this also helps our crowdfunder, which is running at the moment. Because it shows what we actually do, And so looking forward to speaking with Niall at the bottom of the hour. If you're watching on TikTok, you won't see Niall, but you can see him on our youtube.com/UK A Force for Good website. Let's say hello. Debbie was first in this evening, says 2 weeks tonight we'll be bringing in the new year. Where has this one gone? I know exactly what you mean. Good evening to Derek, who says, I hope you had a great birthday last Sunday. Thank you, Derek. I certainly did. And I want to thank everybody for the kind comments that were sent, not just to the AFFG page, but also to my own personal page. I really did appreciate every single birthday wish from you all out there. Thank you very much. That was a big birthday in the sense of a big number. I'll leave you to guess what that number was, although some of you know. Derek says he's already seen Easter eggs in the shops. Well, Cadbury's cream eggs, I suppose, but they kind of sell all year, don't they? Hi, Oksana. Well, we are well, thank you. I hope you're also good. And season's greetings to Kat, a great supporter of A Force for Good is Kat. Thank you. Matthew says, good remigration evening. Well, we might get talking about that towards the bottom of the hour. That's a big issue at the moment, what with the rise of reform. And nice to see Catherine. Hope you are well. Derek is looking forward to seeing Niall. Good to see Niall back, he says. Debbie says, have you got your bus pass? I applied for it on Monday, would you believe? Well, that's giving the game away, isn't it? That's saying what age I am, but I applied for it on Monday, but it takes 2 weeks to arrive. So I'm going to have to pay for 2 weeks. But anyway, all you folk who are paying taxis, thank you very much for my free bus pass. I do appreciate that. At least it's going to a good cause, right? Now, yeah, let's begin by reviewing the year. Somebody just messaged me here. Let me just check. No, everything's good. Everything's fine. Yeah, so let's review the year. It's been a busy year, and as always, we publish daily online on all our platforms, but we also do, of course, physical activism. So let's have a look at just some of the physical activism that we've been doing. Basically, what we've done in 2025, and basically, thanks to the people who gave last year at our Christmas crowdfunder, and also the people who gave during the summer, we've been able to really do quite a lot of stuff. And our first outdoor event, well, we had a street stall in March, but our main big event was this one that's on the screen at the moment, which was outside John Swinney's SNP summit when he was having a wee moan about the rise of the quote unquote far right, and a wee moan about all the people who wanted asylum frauds out, and a wee moan about all the people who wanted mass deportation now. So we thought, well, if he's actually going to call a meeting on that particular matter, then maybe we should turn up with those flags and banners, which is exactly what we did. And that got plenty of attention in the media. In fact, in the next picture, I think there's a picture of me talking to one of the media people. There you go. That was me talking to the person from LBC, although I'm not aware that she used any of my words of wisdom. Again, that's what you find with the media, is if you're too wise, too all-knowing, then they won't use your words, lest you help the people rise to the consciousness that they don't want you to rise to. That's my excuse anyway, why they never used my segment there. And she was pressing me on one or two things, and I wasn't backing down on it. And so they don't like that either. Okay. Now, before we go on to the next picture, what we did in the summer was we published volume 2 of a big book for the Union, which it was a major thing that we did: protect our country, policies to stop mass immigration. And, you know, that's an excellent book, by the way, excellent book. And you can get it simply by searching Amazon for Protect Our Country. And we thought this was really very valuable to have because, you know, next year, we're probably going to get lots of people elected to the Holyrood Parliament who will at least have been elected on the Stopping Mass Immigration, Stopping Fraudulent Asylum Seeking ticket. And so we thought these people are going to need the information. They're going to need a crash course in this subject. And who's going to provide it for them? So basically, we've provided it for them here in this book. And you can get that simply by searching Amazon for Protect Our Country, or it's also a gift at our crowdfunder. You can make a donation of a certain amount and you'll get that as a free gift. You'll get a signed copy of that, in fact. So we published that and we launched it in Dover. Let's put up the next pics. There we go. And we launched that. That was us. Well, that was us actually speaking to a meeting that was organized by the Great British National Protest Movement right there down on the beach of Dover. And earlier in the morning there, we had launched the book on our own website. Excuse me. Okay. Next picture. And that's a fantastic picture, isn't it? That's Dover Beach, Dover Castle in the background, the white cliffs of Dover behind me, a man on the shingle beach there with a Union Jack t-shirt and a St. George's cross. And there's me launching the book. I've got a copy of it in my pocket, as you'll see there, in that fantastic red jacket that we got for AFFG. Okay. And I think there's another picture there from Dover. well, that's the book. That's a book that Kat, actually, she took a photograph of that on her bookshelf and sent it to us. It's still an excellent photograph, that, which we used to flog the book. And that's us. We went above the hills, just above Dover. And that's where the asylum frauds come in the background. And we got that banner. That's another achievement this year, was we got that designed by an excellent banner designer who's on the team. And we got that for taken down, and that got a good reception, I tell you, when we unfurled that. But that's the message, isn't it? Need to hear that from a lot more people. Okay. And so that was our Dover event, and 4 of us went down to Dover, and we took us a couple of days, and there and back. I think it was a 3-day event, and that was made possible. The publication of the book was made possible by donations and so on. And then that was in July. Then in September, we had a demonstration outside Holyrood. This was the first asylum and immigration restriction demo outside Holyrood that there's ever been in the history of the world. And so that was an important day as well. And we've got about 150 people there. And we coincided it with the All Under One Banner March, which was happening on the same day, and in fact ending in the same place. So well done to the police for making sure everybody got the right to demonstrate. We've got a colourful picture of that as well on that day outside Holyrood. There we go. That's a nice picture. Look at all the fantastic colours there. Don't tell us we are not the most colourful group around. Absolutely fantastic. Okay, now that was our stand-up. Well, this month again in December, we had another really quite unique event, which was when we met the so-called Stand Up for Open Borders, or as they like to call themselves, Stand Up to Racism March, when it ended in Newmarket Street in Falkirk on Saturday the 6th. And we gave 3 speeches, and we've put out the 3 speeches, and the 3rd speech we put out on Monday just there, and you'll find that on our website. What we'll do is we'll put the link to that under the X post and also under the Facebook post, so that you can click on it and read it. And the 4th speech, which we delivered in front of the Claddon Hotel to the Save Our Future and Our Kids' Futures group, they actually have a good banner. I'll bring the banner up in a minute, but we gave a speech to that. That's going to be released tomorrow on YouTube. But for the viewers, here's a wee 3-minute segment that you'll enjoy. Let me just play this for you.
And there's other things we need to do as well. We need to ensure that you only get welfare if you're a British citizen. Absolutely ridiculous that you can get the benefits of our taxpayers' money without being a British citizen. The next thing we have to do is to make British citizenship very difficult to get. At the moment, you can become a British citizen after 6 years. We need to change that to at least 25 years, if at all. Then another thing we need to do is only British citizens should get the vote. We have a situation in Scotland where you can get the vote if you are legally resident here. Okay, so if you're a student on a student visa, if you are only here for a short time or whatever, you can vote. That's absolutely ridiculous. only British citizens should have the vote. And it was your Scottish Greens over there who brought in that law in 2020. Shame on them for changing the law in that way. Shame on you. 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 So we have to get back to British democracy. British democracy for the British citizens. So these are just some things that we can do, but we can do it, folks, and you know what? We can do it perfectly fairly. We can do it perfectly legally. We can do it perfectly properly. Nobody needs to get hurt. I actually wrote the book on it. It's called Protect Our Country. I'm gonna leave a book with our man Connor, our absolute hero Connor. And really, quite frankly, thank you so much to this man, because so much of this often depends just on one person. And folks, you have a hero. You have a hero in Connor, and all those who help him, and all of you who turn out today. Well done for you all coming out, standing up.
Yeah, absolutely. That was a really good one. That was a really good speech, and even though I say it myself, crying out loud, quite dynamic, quite exciting. And as I said there, it really does depend on the few organisers that are down there in Falkirk, really delivering the goods. Well done to them. Well done to them. Now, in addition, what we've been doing, because these are like physical things that we've been doing out in the public, but of course, we're also doing an awful lot of online activity as well. And thanks to our fantastic team, the people who moderate Facebook, the people who moderate Instagram, the people who clip the videos, the people behind this show, the people who design the banners, the people who design the graphics, the people who help to design the books. Thanks to all of that great team, our fantastic team, as well as all the supporters who make this happen, we've also been able to do several things this year. That's including broadcasting 41 of these programs, turning them into 41 audio-only podcasts. In addition to videos going out every day on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook and TikTok and YouTube, literally every day. One of these platforms will have a video, if not all of these platforms will have a new video, clipped usually from this show. We've appeared as a guest on 8 other programs. We published our 1,500th YouTube video this year, and we've had several TikTok videos which have got over 100,000, some up to 600,000 views, and we had one video which across all our platforms was seen by over 1 million people. Okay, that's serious reach for us, and it's only going to get bigger and better. And particular successes this year has been our Instagram program, in that we've increased the number of Instagram followers by a quarter. Yes. By almost a third. We've increased our Instagram followers by a third, and our TikTok videos followers by a quarter, and also several thousand new people on our Facebook as well. Thanks a lot to our Facebook administrator for helping to make that happen also. And in addition to that, we've counted 3 AUOB marches in Scotland, we've counted 2 Welsh separatist marches, and we've counted a Stand Up to Racism march. That was the one in Falkirk when they got 536 people, not the 1,000 that they claimed. So we're doing all of that as well. And we also caught the Stand Up to Racism people in a lie when they pretended an alleged violent incident had occurred in Edinburgh, and we were able to make it clear that no such incident occurred. And we were able to do that through our freedom of information request to Police Scotland. So that was a big embarrassment for them when we revealed their lie. And we've also published 29 articles on our website, 29 original, unique articles on our website, as well as supplying hard copy material, such as our book, to decision makers in the Scottish Parliament and in the British Parliament. And next year, we want to get this book to all the new MSPs as well, who are going to be advocating for immigration restriction. So busy year next year, and we do need to get our heads down for that one, no doubt about it. And indeed we do. Now let me read some of your comments here. Rumanar says, who thought of giving votes to immigrants? We all know the parties they're told to vote for. It was a bad idea, and why didn't Westminster step in? What's the reason Westminster didn't step in is because David Cameron devolved the franchise to Holyrood and to the Senate. And that was one of his gifts to the SNP for losing. It was what's the word when you lose, but you get a prize anyway? That was his prize to the SNP, allowing them to set the franchise for devolved elections, and just absolutely incredible, really incredible. Now, in 5 minutes, we are going to bring on Niall Fraser, and just as soon as we've rounded this little section up, and Niall's got a lot to say about what's going on in Scotland as well. Catherine, consolation prize. That was Niall, David Cameron's consolation prize to the SNP was to give them lots of new powers. Absolutely crazy. It was also like a runner-up prize. Yeah, it was a runner-up prize. Everybody gets prizes, and because we won the referendum, what David Cameron thought he would do is he would give even more power to the other side to make sure that if it were ever to happen again, they'd be in a much stronger political position. Yeah, thank you, David. Thank you for that. Here we go. Thanks for your thoughts, folks. Indeed. So, yeah, Catherine liked the photos. They are good, aren't they? Thank you to English Lee, who has reposted this stream. If you're on X, folks, please just just repost this. It really, really does help to get the message out. And it brings in new followers. So please do that, folks. Now, does anybody have any questions that they would like to ask Niall? Some of you know who Niall is, but if you get any questions, if you have any questions for Niall prior to him coming on, fire them in just now, and we'll make sure that he sees them. Okay, now let me just do my thing here. I'm going to turn this one off. And thank you, David. Hiya, Nana. Right, let us bring on Niall. Folks, say hello to Niall Fraser.
Hello, Alistair.
Hey, good to see you.
Good to see you as well.
It's been a wee while since you've been on the show. You've always got a lot to say. You've always been a great guest, but I know you've been very, very busy this year, and really pleased to have you back on.
Thank you very much.
Looks a very cozy little room you've got going on.
Yes, it's very festive
very
in the household.
festive.
Very festive indeed. Well, it's been a busy year, Alistair. You know, first official year being a dad. So obviously I've been doing all that. You know, I've been just enjoying every minute, I suppose. But you know, if we're rounding up Scottish politics for the year, a Christmas roundup, then I suppose we'll start at the start of the year, where, you know, I wouldn't say I broke the story on the consumption rooms, but I certainly took it to the next level. Hi to all the people in the comments. Like Alistair said, if you've got any questions, just dump them in the comments and we'll get to them towards the end. But I've uploaded up a couple of pictures of the consumption rooms just to sort of reimagine what I put myself through during the month of February. So, you know, all of these images here, right? And again, if you don't know the whole story about the consumption room was this concept that was, dreamed up in the minds of these social engineers and the SNP and the Greens to somehow to stop the addiction crisis. What we need to do is make sure that they've got plenty of drugs to take and a place to take them in a safe manner in order to reduce deaths. So, you know, the headline figures of the drug deaths is basically what the SNP go on year after year. And to see any progress being done, they need to see the numbers come down. So they've had a number of initiatives. The first one that come along the pipeline was something called naloxone, which was it stops an overdose. So it's like an anti-overdose syringe. So you see a lot of people carrying naloxone these days. But look at this image here. This is just off the East End of Glasgow. This is near Celtic Park.
So this is in a public way, as it were.
Yes, this is just behind the train station. I forget what the train station's name is. But again, I just wanted to sort of capsulate the ruination that's happening on people's streets. And this was after the drug consumption room videos, where I was like a dog with a bone, where I couldn't really get it out of my head. There was so much needles, there was so much discarded paraphernalia. There's it's like a feast for the eyes at these sites, and you can't really sleep that night when you come back and you're like, what the hell did I just clean up? And,
okay, I think we've seen enough of that picture.
I know this is just after I think an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours, a needle cleanup in a very urban area right next to a train station. And I'm sorry to like disturb your viewers and just showing them needles straight away, but this was the start of the year.
Yeah,
and of course, we had Neil Gray in the Parliament. You know, he references the videos that I make. Does they mention me at all? Says it's all misinformation, it's all lies. But I think looking back at it is because I've mentioned the fact that there's been a drug treatment centre situated in the same place as the consumption room. So this drug replacement therapy centre, or whatever it is, right next to the consumption room. All the addicts will show up in the morning because they're going to get a needle primed with medical grade heroin, which they'll take, and then be released into the public in some sort of weird ceremony where, you know, it's supposed to help the addict in some way, giving them heroin, medical grade heroin, and then just release them into the public, where, of course, they are then seeking the next hit. So, I mean, the area in the East End, right next to the Barrowlands, right next to a very busy Morrison's. The Morrison's have got extra staff on, extra security staff. They've got, you know, eyes in the back of their head in terms of staff. They're all waiting for, you know, one of these addicts to run in, steal a few bottles of vodka, and dash back out again. And I've seen a very similar situation happen over Edinburgh. I've spent a lot of time in Edinburgh the last few weeks. And anyone that knows Edinburgh will know the main tourist centres. You know, you've got Waverley, and then you come up Waverley Steps, and then or the back end of Waverley, you go up Coburn Street, you're at the sort of middle of the Royal Mile. Across the road, you've got a place called Hunter Square. And at Hunter Square, I've been talking to all the businesses around Hunter Square. Hunter Square is like a sort of, it's like a meetup ground. It's like a communal addiction space right in the very centre of Edinburgh, right across from all these businesses, all these hotels, all these tourist attractions. We've got, in amongst it all, a huge group of addicts who are just terrorising the businesses up and down in the general vicinity of Hunter Square. The Greg's, I'm told, or the Greg's on North Bridge, right off Hunter Square, is one of the most shoplifted Greg's in the UK, that runs, what I'm told, anywhere between £200 and £300 in losses per day. Per day, Alistair. You know, the amount of sandwiches to equate to £200 or £300 every day is quite staggering. So, you know, I still do a lot of work in the space. When I see problems, generally I like to investigate, to talk to the business owners, to find out what's going on, and to seek possible solutions. And, you know, Hunter Square, for a lot of people in Edinburgh, it's just one of these things that they just accept as a normal thing. They accept that, oh, yeah, this is where the addicts go, just avoid it. Whereas I'm looking for a situation where the businesses don't have to put up extra security guards. They don't have to, you know, chase people at the shop. They don't have to guard their goods like they're going to be stolen any minute.
Yes.
So,
looking back on your activism, because you did publicize it a lot, and the good news, I suppose, is that they did attempt to clear that up, didn't they? And it certainly brought it to the public eye, because it was all over social media, and it also got into the papers as well, I believe. And so you definitely brought it to the attention of the public. Would you say it was a successful?
I thought it was fantastically successful. At any time it's been mentioned in Parliament, absolutely knocked it out the park. So that's a home run for me, even though I didn't get my name in there. That's no to my detriment. Everyone knows where the video came from, and everyone knows that Neil Gray is, for lack of a better term, talking shite about the whole situation. So, and the more I find out about Neil Gray, the worse it is. Neil Gray, the current Health Secretary. But, you know, I've been keeping my ear to the ground in Scottish politics. Although it has been a busy year with me becoming a dad, I've just, you know, I can't shake the need to make things better for people, unfortunately. You know, this country, and again, it's maybe because I became a dad, that's what I'm looking for all the time. I'm looking for the country to be in a better place than it is right now. And when I eventually depart this earth, I hope it's way better for my family when I go. You know, that's just my sort of the mission at the moment. I think it's just to leave it better than it is before. You know, they say that, you know, what is it? You know, you plant a tree knowing that you're not going to sit under its shade, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
You know,
That's right. For future generations. Well, that's a good attitude to have. Absolutely. The kind of eternal view of things is important, because we're all just passing through, talking about things that are just passing through. The SNP is probably, well, we'll know much better next year, but it could be on the verge of losing quite a few seats, or it could be gaining seats. I mean, we really don't know. But I suppose the big news story, certainly Britain-wide, was the rise of reform this year. Exponential rise. Last year it was, oh, look at us, we're now fourth in the polls. Look at us, we're third in the polls. Now, in some polls, they're number one.
Second. Yeah, well, at least,
and
in Scotland.
In Scotland, they're number two. So that's a really quite catastrophic, stratospheric rise. That was the big story. And they even won a councillor last Thursday in central Scotland, and the Labour vote collapsed by 20%. And I can't remember what the reform percentage was, but the SNP vote collapsed, as did the Labour vote, and so that was remarkable. If that can be mirrored, if that's the word, repeated next May. Any thoughts on that?
I mean, this election is right up in the sky, Alistair. If you were to say that, even if you're Professor John Curtis sitting in a university office somewhere, I don't think you can properly predict the way this election's going to go. I just think it's so fractured now. And of course, what a fantastic breeding ground! What a petri dish for reform to come together, get stronger, and grow and grow and grow. It's the perfect environment for a party like Reform at this point in time. It's absolutely, you won't get any better a situation for Reform to come as a party that's previously not had anybody elected in Scotland, minus a defection. 2021, 2022, when Michelle Ballantyne defected over to Reform. You've not had any representation before, and with these people getting in, we hope that they're great voices for change. Of course, Reform's message resonates with a lot, I'm sure, with your viewers, with my sentiments personally. The anti-immigration stances that we've seen all these flashpoints across the UK, and moreover in Scotland, you've got the place like Falkirk, where you brought up earlier in the show, where we've got this hotel, and when you watched, I watched that BBC, I think it was like a panorama or BBC Disclosure or somewhere on Falkirk, and when they ask the SNP politicians about it, they ask the SNP politicians, will there be a financial impact to this hotel for the people, the residents in Falkirk? Will there be a financial impact because of this hotel? And the SNP politicians will say, absolutely not. Of course there won't be a financial impact, even though that's not even the argument, Alistair. The argument is not about finance. It's not about economics. It's about safety and security of the people that live in Falkirk, safety and security of the people that live in any sort of radius to these migrant hotels. They're like crime centres. Wherever you put them up, you're going to get increased crime. Wherever you put them up, Alistair, it's like a beacon for crime.
It's a good point. I was reading a national article which I finally got the stomach to suffer today, although I noticed it's from way back in August when I cut it out. And this person's going, oh, there's no evidence that asylum seekers are more likely to commit violent crime than any other segment of the population. And he says it's because there's no evidence because he doesn't find any particular peer-reviewed studies on the matter. And he might be correct in the sense that there are very few studies on that, because the government actually does do its darndest to kind of deep six those matters. But it occurred to me that even if you found that the refugees were committing crime at the same percentage, at the same rate as the indigenous population, that's no excuse for them to be here. If they weren't here, they wouldn't be committing crimes at all. Okay. And so that sort of attempt to apologize for the asylum seekers is just farcical, really. I mean, just don't have them here and there won't be any crime at all from them.
Well, I mean, I'm glad that Reform are taking up the mantle of anti-immigration. Scotland doesn't deserve to have these hotels. The UK doesn't deserve to have these hotels. And, you know, root and branch, they need to be taken away. And the people that are in them need to be sent back home over the course of maybe a 6-month period. They're put elsewhere, and then they're shipped off home. And again, you know, it's not even coming from a racist place, Alistair. This is coming from a very pragmatic place where, you know, you're one of 40 migrants, you know, rolling the dice on a dinghy, trying to reach Dover. You get processed in Dover, you get taken away, you get put on a bus, and you're thinking, oh, finally I've reached the promised land of London, of Manchester, of Liverpool, or you know these huge economic centres. And then you get put on a bus and you end up in Falkirk, or you end up in Aberdeen, or you end up in Greenock, or just outside Edinburgh. And you know, it's not good for the people that live in the area. It's not good for the migrants that are seeking a better life to be placed in these areas. It's not great for anyone apart from the people who are putting them there and the people make money.
Yes,
facilitating these things. So all your facility management companies, your Sodexos, you know, they're making absolute fortunes, right? Literally just, you know, and see if you are a hotelier in Aberdeen or Greenock, you know, where once that you had a bustling trade, you had rooms full year round, and now because of the COVID era, because of, you know, the financial situation where they're now, the economic situation, this cost of lockdown crisis that we're still enduring, the hotelier can't really be blamed for saying, well, I'm going to make some money here finally. I'm just going to sign my hotel over to Sodexo and they can take the management of it and I'll just take a check every month. So, you know, you've got people by the short and curlies, Alistair, all up and down the country where everyone is scratching and clawing to make a living, to look after their family, when the cost of everything right now is absolutely astronomical. And to see that the election in Scotland this year, I think the next 6 months, you'll see everyone of every party talk about the price of things. What their solutions will be, we're yet to find out. But you know, everyone is missing a trick if they don't talk about the cost of living crisis now. It's just, you know, for a family shop, a family of four, you're talking £300 to £400 a week in food, and it just becomes outrageous. You know, this is why I've not been on camera, because I've been working 60, 70-hour weeks. You know, it's one of these things where you just have to do what you got to do. You're in the trenches, and you just have to keep bringing the money in. There's nothing else for it. Otherwise, your children don't get fed. and they don't get the nice things that you think they deserve. So,
Yes.
You know, this whole election, when it comes in 6 months, I don't know where it's going to go, Alistair. I really don't. I can see Reform making gigantic gains, absolutely gigantic gains. And, you know, I messaged the Scottish organiser just a week ago saying, you know, when the Greens are attacking you, when the Tories are attacking you, when the SNP are attacking you, when the Lib Dems are attacking you, when Labour are attacking you, you are winning. You're absolutely winning, and just keep on course and stay the course, and you will win a giant amount of seats. I think when you look at the pros and cons of a Reform vote, it's a huge amount in the pro column. But when you look at all these other parties, I mean, Labour, you can't really in good conscience ask anybody to vote Labour. You know my views on the SNP. They're scandal-ridden, useless. I'm trying to think of other ways to describe them, but it's like they're purposely useless. They do nothing. They obscure all the facts. They want to make everything secret. We've still got Nicola Sturgeon prancing around. Has Murrell been charged with embezzlement? Is he going to jail? Did Nicola know anything? We've got this crazy story up in Dundee recently, and if anybody watching this is of the inclination to vote for the SNP, I will divert your attention across to America for a second, where we've got this family, the Hunter, the Biden family, right? And we in Scotland, we like to do things better. We like to take a concept, fashion it into something a bit better, and reintroduce it to the world. And we've done that with Hunter Biden, Alistair. We've done that because move over Hunter Biden, Scotland has got a bigger degenerate. Scotland, and of course, it comes from the inbred Humza family line, where you've got Ramsay El Nakla, right? Ramsay El Nakla, brother-in-law to the ex-First Minister, Humza Yousaf, and the brother to Nadia El Nakla, who is now the Deputy Lord Provost of Dundee, right? So this Ramsay El Nakla was implicated in the death of a man who was terrified enough to jump at a 3 or 4 story window in Dundee. And recently the court documents have showed us that he was taken on a given day up to £800 in crack cocaine in a single day, Alistair. So that's what I'm saying. I move over Hunter Biden. We've got better. We've got the best degenerate families here. It's like Shameless, but we can do it way better. And all this while, Nadia El Nakla was the drugs spokesman for Dundee City Council. You've got Humza Yousaf trying to backtrack on all this, drug consumption rooms, talking about the drug crisis, the suicide epidemic, the overdose epidemic, whereas brother-in-law is taking £800 a day in crack cocaine, and his sister is up there in Dundee City Council espousing the dangers of drugs. Yes, it's certainly a confused message there, to say the very least. Indeed. Well, and Dundee, of course, has got its own issues as well with the asylum hotels and things like that, which are there. But the other thing that you were quite big on this year was, I noticed on your Twitter anyway, was the Sandie Peggie thing, and that seems to have come to a kind of good conclusion anyway. I mean, that was, we'll just summarize the case there just in a couple of minutes. But you were certainly pushing out a lot of that. Again, you know, it feels like it's a lifetime coming for this Sandie Peggie story. You know, when I first started in politics, you know, I wanted to construct this message to tackle the transgender thing, the transgender cult, the transgender, you know, fad. I wanted to combat that, so I made a speech called Ending the Argument, which it sits on Twitter to this day, you know, thousands of likes, and yet it's the only video that, to my knowledge, that hasn't got a view count on it. Anyway, bear that in mind. I was told, Niall, don't burn a book. Don't do it. It'll be the end of you.
Oh yeah, the book burning video. I remember that one.
So that was back in 2021, Alistair, where I put this video, and we're 4 years on, and how many people have been caught up in this trans cult, who knows? But anyway, the latest person that's been brought up in it, you know, that's going through the mill, and there's been a lot of people in Scotland that sort of fall foul of this, you know, fake reality nonsense. And one of them was a nurse in Kirkcaldy's Victoria Hospital. And the Victoria Hospital, you know, it's got its problems. If you know the area of Kirkcaldy, you know, there's loads of addicts in Kirkcaldy, you know, probably quite an elderly population. But this nurse has been, I think it was 20 or 30 years service in the NHS. And over the 20 or 30 year service, I think the first 25, she wouldn't have had any issues with this trans stuff at all, because it just wasn't in the culture at that point. You know, it wasn't injected into our daily lives as if we needed it. But as soon as she's this, I don't even know how to describe this fakery, but when you're putting it into practical situations like health, and this is, you know, you look at health is supposed to be one of these things where it's in a vacuum. You know, your opinion doesn't matter. The science matters. Your thoughts don't matter at all. It's only the science that matters when it comes to people's health. And yet they've managed to crowbar in this fake transgender stuff. This a man can become a woman at any time. All he needs to do is say so. And what happened was this nurse has been working a shift late on, and this male doctor has entered the changing rooms, and she's left. She said, no, I don't want you in my changing rooms. Thank you very much. And what happens? Well, we get a whole litany of complaints coming about this nurse. We get a tribunal, where this tribunal is raked through all the media. And then you've got this conclusion now, where I think the conclusion was that she wasn't dismissed. I think there's still something going on with it. Like there's an appeal going on, where I don't think she's been fairly acquitted for this thing. So Sandie Peggie has to go on once again, even though anyone in the right mind knows that this situation doesn't need to have happened. We've wasted countless hundreds of thousands of pounds on the whole legal rigmarole of sorting a tribunal, putting judges up, the Scottish government hiring silks from London to come up and defence the indefensible, which is, you know, you can't make women change alongside men. It's just an impossibility. And that's what the Scottish government are demanding what happens here. So, of course, you know, reading through the tea leaves, you know, you don't need to be a soothsayer to understand that this woman, this nurse, Sandie Peggie, will be paid out in the high hundreds of thousands, if not millions of pounds, for a wrongful dismissal. Of course, it'll come at your pocket, Alistair. It will come at my pocket because we are the taxpayer. We have done this.
Yes,
we have done this. This poor nurse has been raked over the coals because of us. Why is it because of us? Because we, as a collective Scottish society, have continued to put in the SNP year after year, time after time.
It's a good point. We can't keep voting like turkeys for Christmas. And talking about the costs of things here, Room Runner says the other gripe I have with the SNP, and that's the free bus pass scheme for every 5 to 21-year-old in Scotland, including those who have been 6 months or more in the country. Indeed, and then he goes on and says, meanwhile, certain disabled people don't get to qualify for it, and my useless local MP, Doris, that's SNP, I believe, didn't even entertain my issue when I wrote and met him. Well, it doesn't surprise me. He's just an SNP loyalist, that chap. And how he ever became an SNP MSP, who knows?
Well, I mean,
who knows? Well, I know how, because people just turkeys voting for Christmas, unfortunately.
Every policy the SNP come out with is all about attaining and try to maintain the votes that they currently have. And of course, they're geared towards the younger demographic because nobody, anybody with, a scintilla of wisdom and intellect and time on this earth more than anything will say, thank you, SNP, but no thank you. Whereas the younger ones, they've not been scammed enough. They don't know what a scam looks like. So, of course, they're grabbing in the SNP's message, word for word. I know we've only got a couple minutes left, but if we go back to the reform for a second here, and I don't really know what I would say to your audience, Alistair, other than if you can't see it, if you don't see the importance of the voting reform this time round, then I don't think you ever will. I think there's, like I said, such a fertile breeding ground for reform at the moment. They're promising you things that everyone should be taking up immediately, like these migrant hotels need to go. Why do they need to go? Because our people deserve safety and protection. Our armed forces, the veterans need to be taken care of above and beyond anybody else that we're bringing in. Reform are offering something completely different. And again, what I thought the reform is it's not full of working class people, but it's gaining working class people. And I think the working class vote, even though you've got loads of Tory defectors, loads of the most recent one was Malcolm Offord. I'm not sure if he's putting people onto reform or putting them off. But it's good that people are coming on board anyway. I don't see, you'll see people saying like, oh, the working class, they're going to vote for a Lord or whatever. If he's speaking their language, absolutely they will. So, yeah, again, you can't in good conscience, ask people to vote for Labour, even if it's in a tactical sense. And I've been in a few Twitter battles with people who think that, their number one objective is getting the SNP out rather than sort of moving the conversation forward and getting a better class of people in Holyrood that don't make it look like a circus every week, Alistair. Because that's what, Holyrood has just been used as a sort of daycare centre for the weak-willed and the mentally incapable. Yeah.
Yeah. There's one way of putting it, certainly. Look, it's been good. I know you mentioned your wee boy that you've had this year, but I believe you've got another child forthcoming just basically around the new year, if not in the next few days.
I wasn't going to tell anybody that, but yes, we're expecting another baby, and it'll probably be within the next week. It could even be the new Messiah being born on Christmas Day. Who knows, Alistair? But yes, we're expecting another wee ginger sproglet anytime soon. And I did add a wee picture of me and my son because just recently we took out the Christmas light switch on. But look at his wee, and this, you know, if you know there's 200 plus people watching now, this is what we're doing it for. It's not for me, it's not for Alistair, it's for the next generation of people that are coming along. Do you want them to have the same and or better opportunities than you did? Of course you do. So now's the time to start thinking about planting trees so that you're creating shade that you're not going to be under, but the future generations. Now's the time to plant the trees. Otherwise, we're going to have more of this.
Oh gosh,
you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And if you think, and this, you know, just to shock your viewers again, but this is right off a main road, and it's the entrance to a play park.
Yeah. Oh, it's not acceptable. Not acceptable at all.
It's just unbelievable.
And you've done very well this year to highlight that. And on behalf of everybody, I'd just like to thank you for doing that as well. And you were a bit of a stranger to us this year because you're so busy, and I'm sure you're going to be awfully busy next year as well. But when it's possible, we'll certainly get you back on the show. And anybody that wants to keep up to date with your latest thoughts, please do follow Niall on X. He's at x.com/Niall Fraser 8. That's NIALLFRASER numeral 8. And you can hear words of wisdom whenever Niall gets a chance to broadcast them.
Again, it's just it's the time commitment these days, Alistair. You know, I used to do a show, and everyone asking me like, when's the Niall Fraser show coming back? Where is it? When is it? You know, I'm desperate to bring it back, folk, but I've just not got the time. You know, I wish I could do it full time, but again, it's just the commitment. And thank you, Matthew. It is fantastic news. Just before I do leave, I know you're running this Christmas crowdfunder, and I just wanted to sort of let your audience to just the fantastic work that you've been doing over the years, because, you know, even though I can't physically, you know, sort of participate in the content creation as much as I used to these days, I still watch it. And for what you've been doing, the most recent one, catching out Stand Up to Racism in a complete lie, it's unbelievable. But moreover, I think the most important work that you do, along with your great activism, is you count the marches. And people might think this is a very silly thing, but when you've got all under one banner, all under one brain cell, when they're saying, oh, we've got 100,000 people at a march, and you see the headlines the next day, well, 100,000 people at a march for pro-independence. And then you look at your video and you've counted every single one of the marchers, and it's about 5,000 people. This is very, very, very serious, like perception altering news stories that Scotland's been sort of subjected to by all the tendrils of the Scottish government and all the tendrils of the SNP and all their minions, either flying monkeys, are trying to confuse the perception of Scotland and to try to make it look as if more people support independence than actual numbers.
Well, that's so true. It's perception altering, as you say, and it's not. It's even done by the officially sanctioned SNP marching wing that's called Believe in Scotland.
I thought you were going to say the Goebbels wing there.
Yeah, and last year well, let me just see. Yeah, no, 2 years ago, they had a march in Edinburgh, and they couldn't make up their mind whether it was 25,000 on it or whether it was 10,000 on it.
Right.
And we filmed them and counted them, and it was 3,989. So it was basically 4,000 of them. Not 10,000, not 25,000, 4,000.
They couldn't make their mind up as to what number they could get away with.
That's right. But an interesting thing is that the next year they had a march in Glasgow. In 2024, they had a march in Glasgow. And they were much more cautious about their figures. They said 2,000. And in fact, they were basically honest about it, because we counted them at 1,743. So maybe they learned their lesson and like, oh, we can't just do that anymore. We can't just make up stuff. But what they are good at doing is crowdfunding. £80,000 target for Believe in Scotland fundraiser. And that's from the National in October. And I checked in on this crowdfunder, and I'm sorry to say, not only did it make 80,000, it's currently sitting at £108,000 that people have given to these kind of numpties, basically. £108,000, mate. We're asking for 5,000 in our Christmas crowdfunder, which people can see at crowdfunder.co.uk/AFFG 2026. And that's what we're up against. You know, we are up against that kind of money. And as far as that kind of money is concerned, we can't really compete with that. I'm not sure unionism can even compete with that kind of money.
But what we
can do is, let's hear it. What we can do.
Well, I think for every £5 they spend, any pound that you spend is way more valuable. Just because I think that, you know, the money that's going to a force for good is way better spent than anything that could possibly imagined at the Believe in Scotland, the marching wing. So if you do feel inclined, like there's no better place to put your money in terms of a political pressure group than a force for good. Just because they're constantly out there, constantly at the marches, constantly promoting, you know, all the protests that you should be at, and highlighting everything. You know, the street stalls as well.
Street stalls. We've had 13 street stalls this year, which has been very good, and that's one of them there. That was back in July, I think it was. So we're flying the flag on the street, as it were, and we try to get one a month if we can. So it's 12. Sometimes it's 2. Some months it might be 2. So we're constantly busy and constantly doing stuff, and it's needed. It's needed, and keeping the British end up. Bella Caledonia says you should have a march. Well, we've got better things to do, really. Actually, Mr. Bella Caledonia, he writes for the National. That guy, glad to see him watching.
Of course, he's watching. Where else would his eyes be? On a Wednesday night, a week for Christmas. I mean, of course, they're watching you, Alistair, because they're looking for their ideas. They're looking at ways to avoid being counted so they can inflate the numbers. You know, it's hilarious. You know, I really have enjoyed this year. Just, you know, it's been a really fast year, though, Alistair, isn't it? But I mean, Scottish politics is going to go into overdrive in the new year. It's going to really hit new levels of mania. Again, what we'll see in the new year, all the current parties in Holyrood will be pointing their guns at the reform parties, the insurgent commandos sitting there, they're squirreling away and planning in secrecy at the moment. And I'm sure they're going to make a huge, giant showing at the next election. And it's just, you know, anything can happen, I think. If they really want, I think they could probably get up to 3 people on every list. But then that's, you know, there's this sort of stigma going about the now that they can't win any constituencies, you know. Whereas I think in some places they could possibly win some constituencies, given a great campaign. So,
oh yeah, it's going to be completely different next year, and reform is not going to be hindered by money. In fact, like a lumpet, it's going to probably be the most. It's probably going to spend more than any other party. Probably spend more than the SNP, because you look at the people, they got a massive donation, like 9 million or something. Or was it? Or I'm exaggerating that, but somebody like dropped a huge amount of money into them, and they just. So I mean, money is simply not an issue for reform. But of course, that can be a bad thing as well if the person exercises undue influence. I mean, why is he giving all that kind of money to them? He's not going to. He's not doing it for like the goodness of his health, right? He must want something. Haven't looked into it, so I can't tell you what that was.
I mean, I will issue a slight warning as well, that reform can really sort of like take on too many Tory defectors. They can even take on a lot of Labour defectors, and I think they need to start saying, "Whoa, we've had enough." So we don't want a Reform Party full of the same faces that have failed Scottish politics for the last 20 years.
That's a big worry,
right?
actually. That's a big concern.
Right. So the main thing for me is sort of, you know, I'm playing a very careful game, but I'm pointing out the insecurities that people are having in reform, try to guide them in the right direction, sort of hone their messaging a wee bit, and bring them into a sort of a new year that's, again, such a perfect petri dish in order to grow, thrive, and infect Scottish politics with enthusiasm again, right? So, you know, it's so drear, so horrendously miserable. You know, a time up here, and it's not just the weather; it's the politics.
That's right. Everybody thinks like this Bella Caledonia guy. If you wade through his,
well, how about shutting down all the
8,000 word essay on, you know, why Labour are not far left enough or something like that? If you wade through that, as I do, because I need to know what these guys are thinking. But what you find is like the whole of the Scottish political class and the media class, which is extremely incestuous, they all think basically the same. And the good thing about reform, if we can get new people in, not just like not just the old political class that's defected, but if we can get younger people especially in with new ideas that can just overturn the politics that has led to the status and the decline, not just of Scotland, but of the United Kingdom as well. And that means overthrowing all sorts of things that we have hitherto come to expect are just part of the structure, such as all these international so-called conventions that were signed up on. You know, I'm big that we have to get out the UN Refugee Convention. That was Britain joined in 1954, before commercial jet aircraft, for crying out loud. How on earth is something like that still fit for purpose? Of course it's not. And so you have to get out of that. You set up your own temporary asylum program, and you say that if anybody comes in on the back of a lorry, or anybody comes in across the channel in a dinghy, you simply cannot claim asylum in that way. And if you do that, you're breaking our law of entry and you will go to prison. And people say, oh, why should we have to pay for them in prison? I assure you, once we bring in that law, there'll be very, very few people will even need to jail, because the traffic will just dry up. Nobody's wanting to go to prison. So that's the solution that we've always had. That's what the solution we should have implemented back in 2018. You say that to somebody like the Bella Caledonia guy, you'll have an absolute conniption fit. You would have a conniption fit. You know,
well, again,
he couldn't compute that. He couldn't compute that.
We can't name a policy. It's been drawn up.
Just before you try to say you're not speaking for reform, I'm not speaking for reform, so we can't speak for reform. Just so he knows that. But go ahead, Niall.
Well, again, through my ear to the ground, the reform policies are being drawn up, and they're taking time to get them right. So how about you just wait and be patient, and you'll get your policies. At the moment, they're polling at a huge percentage without any sort of, it's only a sort of a quasi thought of what the policies could possibly be. It's you know, it's like it's a belief system that they're going to be the sort of anti-immigration party. They're going to extract these hotels from the land and get other people out. And again, heralding
that's a good enough policy for me. I mean,
safety, and protection, and community spirit once again.
Yeah, and you don't need to be able to dot every I, cross every T, in order to just say this is what we're aiming for. And of course, as I pointed out in my bestseller here, Protect Our Country, Policies to Stop Mass Immigration, which is available from Amazon by searching for Protect Our Country, I detail everything I've talked about and the actual answer to how to put Britain back on the road again. And it can all be done perfectly fairly, perfectly legally, perfectly properly, perfectly kindly as well. You know, there's no anything in there that wouldn't pass muster. You know, it's perfectly good policies. It's just we need to start talking about it, because we want to sort this out, because your Bella Caledonia guys, they just want open borders. They're just globalists. You know, they believe in the global international system, and they don't really support the concept of distinct nations in the first place.
Oh, this is,
so that's but we do. You know, we are for Scotland.
It flies in the face of the name of the party that it supports, the Scottish Nationalists. What is if you land 30 people from Africa in Scotland, are they Scottish now, Bellica? Are they new Scots? I mean, you'll be able to tell me, Alistair, but what voting rights have people got if they're housed in Scotland on migrant hotels or on
well, asylum seekers don't have voting rights, but once you're legally resident, that is, once you become a refugee, then believe it or not, in Scotland at devolved elections, you will be able to vote. But you have to become a refugee. You know, you have to have your asylum claim accepted, and you can then vote. However, anybody else who comes across legally on any kind of visa, work or study visa, provided they are in the country legally and resident someplace in Scotland, they can also vote. So you could just be fresh off the plane, here for 3 years doing a job, and you're going back after 3 years. During that 3-year period, you are able to decide the future of the country that you have no vested interest, no long-term vested interest in. So long as you're legally resident in Scotland, you can vote at these devolved elections. It's an absolute scandal. It was brought in April 2020 by the Greens and the SNP and the useless Labour and the useless Lib Dems, all going, oh, if you're paying taxes, you should get the vote. No. You only should get the vote if you're a British citizen. Otherwise, citizenship means nothing. Okay? You don't have to be paying taxes. As long as you're a British citizen, 18 and older or 16 and older, you should get the vote. But not if you're not a British citizen. There should be no votes for you. And we devote 2 chapters in this book about that, and we explain how all this nonsense came about. And it just has to go. All that has to go. So new conversations need to be brought in. And your national, your Scottish, the people who write for the Scottish National newspaper, like they'll just not be able to compute that, and they'll get angry, you know, and they'll just see their world falling apart. But it's high time their world fell apart, because their world is what's responsible for the situation we're in at the moment. Their ideas.
It won't be pretty when they fall apart, but I'm sure it's not far from happening. Although I remember just a few years ago, the police raiding SNP HQ, the police raiding Nicola Sturgeon's house, the police erecting a big, huge blue tent right on Sturgeon's doorstep, and yet here we have still got the SNP in power.
I'm afraid I don't really know what you mean there. Do you know what he means?
You don't want distinct nations and be terrible nationalists. No, they don't know who they are. The Scottish nationalists anyway. I just don't think they don't understand what they're voting for. I think they're voting against Westminster rule. That's all it is. Genuine question for you chaps. Aren't you afraid that a Farage government at Westminster will turbocharge the end of the UK? No, I'm not. In fact, aren't you afraid that it's going to absolutely destroy the independence debate once and for all? Once people get in and they find out how good it'll be, I'm sure this is what everyone is hoping for at SNP HQ, and that's why the attack lines have been Farage and his racism, and Labour have sort of come on the back of it. Oh, Farage, you can't be saying this about that. Whereas people are just sick and tired of being told what they can and can't say. Everything is just, it's no carrying water anymore.
Yeah, I would add to that. That might be a risk if reform was huge in England, but in Scotland it had no support whatsoever. But when you're looking at a situation where possibly reform could be the second biggest party in Scotland, then clearly there's massive support in Scotland and in England and in Wales as well. So as long as the support is pretty well throughout Great Britain, then it's not going to cause any big problems for the union. I can't see how, but I do follow these guys saying that that they're hoping that Farage will somehow. I mean, there is a danger that if Farage was to launch some, and his, like the Richard Ticeys and the people like that who are very much kind of like uber capitalists, if they were to launch some kind of mass austerity and all that kind of stuff, then that could cause problems. But that would cause problems for them in England as well.
The more the better question for the Caledonia guy is, the problem for me, the fear that I have, and I'm being genuine here, is that reform, they do well in Scotland, they do well right across England, they do well across the UK, they get in a government and they fuck it all up, right? For lack of a better phrase. And then it sets back the remigration, it sets back the anti-immigration sentiment for another 5 years, maybe 10 years. And people are like, no, we're done with it entirely. So that's, if you're wanting, genuineness, then there is.
Yeah. Well, look, I'd love to speak all night, but I think the last 20 minutes there was really quite good. Thanks to the Bella Caledonia guy for dropping in. Maybe you should drop in more often if you want to understand true unionism, true British patriotism. A Force for Good is the place for you. And anybody who wants to support us through the first 6 months of next year, please go to our crowdfunder, crowdfunder.co.uk/AFFG 2026. We're not quite the £108,000 that Believe in Scotland, the marching wing of the SNP, has been able to raise, but we are hoping for a modest sum between 0 and 5,000. That would be fantastic. That would get us through 6 months of getting rid of the SNP. That's why we're calling it "Help Us Remove the SNP in 2026," because we can do our bit. We can do our bit to keep the British end up, as they say. Okay, gonna say bye to you, Niall. All the very best to you. Have a great Christmas with your family. Have a lovely New Year. And God bless your new baby when it comes on the way.
Thank you very much. It's been great to sort of break the ducks back and come on to media again. And thank you very much for letting me do that. Other than that, thank everyone for the comments, but I shall see you in the near future. I do plan on doing a wee Christmas roundup of my own. I'll bring back the Niall Fraser show like a phoenix from the ashes just for one Christmas show, and we'll see what we can do. But we'll have a lot of fun with that.
It's like the Jerry Lewis show in America. He used to just come back like once a year. But you want to be doing that more often. That's for sure. Okay. Good night now.
Good night.
Niall Fraser, fantastic chap and good man. Right-wing Brit, the Lions Roar, says Alistair's a cracking guy, mate. Just started looking more at Niall. Oksana says, thanks, Niall. Patriot Dan says, great show, guys. God bless. Kathleen says, thanks, Niall. Derek says, brilliant show. Patriot Dan says, May the 16th. London's calling. Interesting. I don't quite know what's on May the 16th, but please tell us. Talking about things that are on in England, I'm going to give a quick mention to Mrs. Kent. She's having says, come along, this is Mrs. Kent. We've had Mrs. Kent on the show. Come along to my Mrs. Kent event on December the 22nd at 4 p.m. Margate seafront, starting outside Dreamland. Bring your family and let's show everyone how we celebrate this Christian holiday here in the UK. It's Margate seafront outside Dreamland on the 22nd of December at 4 p.m. 22nd being Monday. Forthcoming. Good stuff. Excellent. Well, I think we've said quite a bit tonight. We've had a good number of viewers and we've been across all the platforms. Now, we're not going to be back next Wednesday because next Wednesday is Christmas Eve. And we're not going to be back the Wednesday after that because that'll be New Year's Eve. But we will be back on January the 7th, refreshed and ready for a fantastic new year. And the 7th will also be the end date of our Christmas crowdfunder. So please take a peek at that, crowdfunder.co.uk/AFFG 2026. And let's see if we can get a wee bit of cash in for the British cause, That's what we need it for, the British cause. Fantastic. Okay, folks, have a peaceful and happy Christmas, and I wish you all a good new year. It just remains for me to say God bless the United Kingdom and God save the King. See you next year.